Hi, I'm Daphne from Daps Makeup, and I'm here to give you the quick tea on luxury makeup. And today we are going to talk about Pat McGrath's newest launch. We have her Passion Fleur eyeshadow quad, and then she has her legendary Glow Color Balm and blush. And I got it in the deepest shade, which is Forbidden Fleur. So this is the cream blush or balm blush shade. And then I will show you her quad in natural lighting. And this is the eyeshadow quad. All right. Now let me just get this out the way. That's not what's on my eyes right now. At the moment, I actually have an Untitled Eye Jewels and Gem eyeshadow palette on my eyes. On my cheeks, I do have this balm on my cheeks, but I also topped it off with the Dior Berry blush because I wanted to also see how it would pair with powder blushes. As you can see, the glow still shines through. But don't worry. What you're about to watch next is B-roll where I give you swatches of the eyeshadow quad and the blush, and then a demo video where I use the eyeshadow quad on my eyes and I use the blush totally by itself. No other blushes, powders, or anything added to, so you can see it in its full glory. Now I did not get her new highlighter balm duo shade Cyber Lotus. I was tempted. It looks actually really pretty, but I felt like I'm not even using her OG one like I should. So in that video, you're actually going to see me bring out one of her OG shades in bronze. So you'll get to see all of those products in action. And then we're going to come back together and I will do some swatch comparisons to see if we have some dupes in a lot of my other Pat McGrath eyeshadows. Because if you're a big Pat McGrath fan as I am, you're probably going, we know Pat loves pink. We have those shimmer shades. So you may not be a fool like me and want to buy everything that she comes out with. And you might be more cautious and say, do I really want to buy this? Can I dupe this? And then even that purple shade, which is kind of unique for her, but we'll see how unique, because I'm going to bring out some old quads as well to compare what purple mattes that she's done in the past. And then when it comes to the blush, I'm going to compare the formula to some other cream blushes that I have and just give you my honest opinion at the end of what I feel about the collection, pros and cons, and to help any of you try to make a decision, is it worth it for you to get it? I don't have regrets, but this collection might not be for everyone. And so let's get started. So first I actually went into the palette Velvet Liaison to use this shade Plum Provocateur in my transition. I love this palette to use with a lot of quints and quads. Okay, now on to the star of the show. So the first shade I'm going into is Plum Nocturne. I was really excited to try this plum purpley shade and it's blending beautifully. I just wanted to show you how much kickback came out of it though. But I'm just deepening my crease. Now I'm going into the shimmer shade Sienna Moonlight, and this shade is gorgeous. The shine on this is beautiful. So just doing it on both sides, but this is a gorgeous, gorgeous shade. Now in my inner corner, I'm using the Skin Show Pink Dawn. Every palette always seems to have a skin show shade and it's of similar quality and bring brightness in my inner corner. Now I'm going into Rose Fire Glow. This one doesn't have as much shine as the others. It's giving a nice little peachiness. I'm doing it on my inner 1/3. It's not bad, but it's not shining on the level of the other shimmers. Going back into the plum shade to smoke out my outer 2/3 of my bottom lash line, because I love a good smoky eye. I'm also going to use it in my outer V, once again, just to provide some more depth to this eye look. And now on to the blush, Forbidden Fleur. So it's a beautiful shade. In terms of application, I'm using my Say brush, and I'm just stippling on the blush. Nice pigmentation. It's blending nicely. It's not disturbing my base. And it is just a beautiful shade. I'm glowing. I don't think it's looking too drippy wet, but I just think it's a gorgeous shade. I didn't buy the new cream highlighter, but I'm using the original one called Bronze. I'm first using the clear end, and then I'm gonna switch over to the bronze shade, and it's a nice bronzy gold shade. This is a nice natural highlight color for my skin tone. The new one has a coral tone to it, which I think would have been really pretty as well. But this is providing a nice natural glow, that whole lit within look. And here's the final look in natural lighting. And it's just that glow from within with the blush, the smokiness and sparkle of the eyeshadow. All right, now let's talk about this product and talk about the formula. So it's called the color Balm. That word is really important. They're not using the word cream blush, because it really is important when we're talking about the formula. The quality of this is on point. I don't have any questions about the quality, and I actually like it, but this might not be for everybody, because it's a question of, number one, do you even like cream blushes? But even if you like cream blushes, do you like a balm over a blush? I think for us to really get into this, it's best if I bring out some of my other cream blushes and balm blushes to compare. And then that way you can get a better idea of what this product is and figure out if it's right for you. So let's start off with a product that came out this year, the Danessa Myricks. So this is a cream blush. So now let me swatch this. I love this product, I can tell you already. So one thing that you're gonna see is this is pigmented. All right, let me give you a good swatch. So the pigmentation, oh my Lord. Be careful when you go in there. You give yourself a small tap, okay? Do not just be swiping some big swipe on your cheek. Okay, you go tap, tiny bit, tap, 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 because this is pigmented. But especially for those of deeper skin tone, obviously we appreciate that. Let me just spread this out a little bit more so you can see it's very pigmented. And the other thing about this is that this basically dries down pretty well and quickly. So this is not tacky anymore. And so it's kind of dries down essentially matte. So it's cream to touch, but it dries down like matte. And so that's very different from what we're talking about over here. I'm going to get to Pat last, but I want to bring out these other ones to compare to. Let's go to the next. By the way, this is Danessa Myricks shade in Dancing Queen, if you're curious. Great shade. All right. Another great product is from Westman Atelier. So this is in stick form, but I think it's still comparable to the Danessa Myricks. This is in the shade Pop It, a very vibrant color. So I got another vibrant color for you. And so as you can see, pigmented. So here we go again, pigmented cream blush. And I'm gonna spread this out as well. And so this will dry down as well. I think the Danessa Myricks dries down even faster and more matte, but this still dries down pretty well. So as you can see, these are both very pigmented blushes. There might be the slightest bit of a little tackiness maybe still left, but this really dries down matte, and this dries down if you just give it a little bit more time, but it's pretty good. So these are very pigmented. And then next I want to talk about LYS. This is another pigmented blush. So this is in the shade Confident. Now this feels creamier than the others, but once you spread it out, it will dry down matte. So it will dry down. I'll say it's not quite as pigmented as you can see, like Danessa. I'm kind of going down the line. Danessa is so pigmented. Westman is pretty good. And LYS is still pretty pigmented, but not to the level, I would say, of Danessa Myrick. So this one is a little bit not sheer, but it's just, you know, not as pigmented, which some people might prefer that. You know, you got to be careful with Danessa, where, you know, this might give you a little bit more cushion to work with, you know, to not make any mistakes, because this is very pigmented and dries down fast. This gives you more time to manipulate it, build it up. So just letting you know, especially if you're kind of new to blushes, you know, you gotta be ready for Danessa. So you might want to ease yourself into first with an LYS blush. But these three, I would put it in the category of cream blushes. And what I like about all three of these is not only are they pigmented, but they dry down. Even though I actually always like to top off my cream or balm blushes with powder, I could get away with not. You actually don't have to. So you could just go ahead, and you're not really gonna, that's my finger, don't worry about that. But in terms of my palm, there's really not much coming off of it. So you can get away with not powdering it down if you didn't want to. Especially if you have dry skin. And that's what I'm going to get to later, is about skin type is also important. But now let's look at more balmy blushes. All right, so I have three more blushes. These three are more in the balmy category, and that are going to be more similar to what Pat is coming out with. So here's Tower 28, and I love this one. This is in the shade Power Hour. So this is going to have that balmy texture, very creamy. Okay, so there you go. So now when you start getting into this category, as you can see, it's not going to be as pigmented as the first three that I showed you. So this is going to give you a much more natural finish, just more natural flush to the skin. But there's still going to be a little tight, but this does dry down to a degree. So one thing I do appreciate, it does kind of dry down to a degree. So this kind of actually is kind of in the middle for me. So it's not as pigmented and not as matte as the first three that I showed you, but this does dry down on its own. So even though, once again, I would still put a powder, you could get away with not powdering it, and it's actually pretty good, but about not being too sticky. All right, I don't know how many of you were around for this one, but this is Tom Ford, and Tom Ford had their own dual-ended highlighter and blush balm. So this was a highlight, and that's actually the highlighter I have on today. Just on a side note, if you want to see the highlighter, it's a beautiful shade on my skin tone. So you had a highlighter on one end, and then the blush on the other end. And this is such a brown girl friendly, beautiful shade. So let's look at this one. This is actually what kind of got me into Tom Ford, was actually this product. Not for everybody, because now we're, like I said, we're getting to the balm category. So as you can see, this is glowy, and this is not going to dry down. So this is going to stay tacky. So this is one where you definitely, unless you like that finish, you're definitely going to have to powder down with a powder blush. So you could top it off with a powder blush if you want, but just so you know, this will be more tacky. So it's up to you if you're down for that. But this, once again, see, when you get into this category, it's a natural flush. And so for better or worse, you might prefer something to be bold and punchy with the blushes. And sometimes you want just to have a beautiful flush of color. And I'm not sure if I gave you the shade of that Tom Ford stick, but it was Cure Cheval. It's discontinued, so unfortunately you can't get it. unless you try to go, you know, Macari or something like that, maybe. I don't know. Something that came out last year was from Chanel, you know, the #1 collection. And this is, you know, this is balmy, and this is like what we're talking about. So let me swipe this. So once again, as you can see, this is beautiful. And like I said, not going to be as pigmented as the first three that we talked about, but this still gives some pigmentation. And you can build it up. But once again, this is going to stay tacky. Okay, so if you ain't about that life, you're going to have to powder down. But it gives this beautiful glow and flush to the face, but you're going to be tacky. So just so you know, when we're in this category, you're going to be glowing and it's not going to dry down matte. So it's up to you if you want to powder down with powder or not. Okay, and that Chanel blush shade was in Berry Boost. So back to Pat. All right, so I left the other 3 balms on because this blush is going to be in this category, okay? So now the one thing you're going to see with Pat, though, pigmentation. So Pat is coming through a pigmentation. You knew, no matter what formula, it's Pat. She's going to be more pigmented than everybody else, okay? But it's still a balm. So, you know, just be aware, like, you know, when we think of her powder blushes that she came out with, when you think of those, you think of pigmented and you think matte. This is the opposite. This is not pigmented. This is glowy. And in terms of pigmentation, sure, I might say it's more pigmented than these brands. But as you can see on my skin tone, on my skin, it actually still comes off as a natural glowy color. You can build it up to a degree, but it's not going to be like the Danessa Meyer's cream blushes. It's not a cream blush. It's a balm. All right. So this one is still going to have a little bit of tackiness to it. I feel like the Chanel's the most tackiest in the Tom Ford. Like those two, those don't dry down at all. Now the Tower 28, what I love about the Tower 28, it actually does dry down pretty well. So I kind of feel like the Pat McGrath is kind of in between the Tower 28 and then the Chanel. So the Chanel, tacky all the way. Beautiful, but tacky. This is going to be a little bit tackiness still left, but not too much, not too much. And so that's the important distinction between all these blush formulas. And because there's still just a little bit of tack still there, I can't promise you if you have long flowing hair that you're not going to go like this or something and it might not stick a little bit. Let me see, can I make it stick? Well, maybe I can make it stick a little bit. Like I said, I don't feel like I'm dripping wet in blush, despite no matter how I look. I just think it gives this beautiful, healthy glow, but it's not for everybody. Some people, and I totally respect it, want pigmentation all the way, want matte all the way. And skin type, I have to imagine it has to be important. I have to let you know that I have dry skin, normal to dry skin. So I am not a good reference for anybody who has oily skin. So how this will wear on somebody with oily skin, I can't comment, you know, so obviously you got to be cautious with that. I would definitely powder it down. And yeah, you know, I hope there's some other reviewers who have oily skin that are willing to test it out for you guys and let you know. But if you have dry skin, then I can tell you it wears, you know, decently well. Like, you know, it's not going to be like Pat's powder blush. Like her powder blushes, Pat's, oh, they will last all day. All day. And I work long hours wearing masks and I still get, you know, a lot would hold on. How long is this going to last? It's still a balm. So, you know, come on, right? All right. So you just have to know what we're talking about, what we're dealing with. So it's just about, are you here for the glow? Are you here for the natural flush? And if not, stick to her normal powder blushes. So let's start with swatching the purple shade. This is actually what drew me in the most out of all these shades, because it's not too often you see Pat doing purple, especially a purple matte. Okay, so I'm gonna swatch this one first. It's called Plum Nocturne. All right, so this is the shade. It is a beautiful purple plum. It's such a pretty color. I love this color. So, all right, so where can we go to look for purple mattes? Well, the most recent example of what she's done is in the Celestial Nirvana. And so she does give us these two purple mattes. This one is probably the most closest. I can swatch both of them, but this would be the closest. Right. But hopefully you can appreciate this, but this is not the same. So you can see this is pinkier and this is more of a cool tone purple. I'm just swatching the deeper purple shade right now. And let's see how that compares. This is more blue based. So this is more pink based, this is more blue based. So neither of these are dupe for the purple in the new palette. Okay, I got two more that we can work on. All right, now I have to dig into some discontinued palettes to look for purple mattes. That's how far we got to go back to find purple mattes from Mama Pat, all right? So this one is Mothership Subversive, but this is the 6-pan. This is not the big Subversive. This is back when she used to have the mini companion ones. So I'm actually going to go into this purple here. All right, and let's see. Now that one is actually pretty close to the new purple. Now, so if you own this palette, then hey, maybe you don't need the new one. But if you don't, this is discontinued. You ain't gonna find it. So if you missed out on this one, and this is a good palette, then consider, if you really want that purple matte, the new quad's got you there. I guess for the hell of it, I'll do the deeper purple, but we know this is not it. And even the finish is not quite matte like the rest, and it's a different shade of purple. So, all right, got one more palette to check out. Okay, got the Star Wars palette, Dark Galaxy. Remember these? Ooh, got us all mad because they sold out real quick. Got everybody mad. Got me mad too. I eventually got it, but we were all mad. Okay, let's go into this purple and let's see how that compares. So once again, not quite the same though, closer, but this is actually the closest match. So it's close, but not quite. I don't know if it's worth even, obviously this one is a totally different purple, but just in case people are curious what kind of tones were in these discontinued palettes. And it's a different formula as well, not completely matte. This purple matte is kind of close, but not it. This one actually is a pretty good dupe. So if you got this palette, this is a good dupe. But if not even Celestial Nirvana, you can still get this one. You should still be able to get this palette, but it's so not the same purple. So there you go with the purple dupes. All right, so we did swatches for Plum Nocturne. Let's try Skin Show Pink Dawn. All right, so I'm gonna first swatch here. And so I already kind of went through a lot of my palette. I have a very huge Pat McGrath collection. The closest that I could find were from Mothership's Divine Rose 1, 2, and Subversive. And so, I could go through the rest of my palettes. I kind of already went through it. These ones would be the closest I feel to that shade. So let's see. I got DR2, and we're going to go for the Skin Show one. All right, so in DR2 Skin Show Opal, so I'm going to swatch that. And so It's a little bit more golden. It has some pink to it, but not quite the same. All right, DR1 iridescent pink. It looks white in the pan, but it's pink when you swatch it. It's kind of close. Not quite the same, maybe slightly more pinker, and the formula is just slightly different. But, you know, it's giving that same kind of vibe. All right, Subversive Astral Ghost Orchid. Let's see. So, I mean, these all give you that kind of icy pink. Sorry, I've been swatching my arm too, but icy pink shades. They give you similar vibes. They're all a little bit different, and the formulas are not exactly the same amongst all the palettes. You're not going to get an exact dupe, but if you are looking for your other palettes to give you a similar vibe, those are the ones that I felt were the closest. Okay, let's do Rose Fire Glow. All right, so we're going to try to dupe that one. So I think probably the best actually comes from this 5-pan Nude Allure, and I'm going to go for the center shade. And let's see, I think this is out of all the best dupes. And so I feel like this is a pretty good dupe for it. And to be honest, I think I actually like the quality of this shadow for it. So I think this is a pretty good dupe for that one. Two more that we can look at is one from Utopian Dream. So I'm gonna go for this shade over here. Let's see how that compares. It's also kind of similar family. And once again, I prefer that formula as well. And then another quad that actually is probably discontinued at this point. But if you have Risque Rose, this shade over here. So I think those would be the best that I could find. I went through the whole collection that I have, and those I feel like they're the best. I think these are pretty good dupes. And honestly, I like the quality of these three that I just showed you actually over the newest one. This one, it's nice, but it doesn't give as much of a punch as those other shades. Okay, to my favorite shimmer in this whole quad, Sienna Moonlight. This shade is gorgeous. This is a fantastic shade. Surprisingly, actually, I was having a tough time finding a dupe amongst all the palettes. So I'm just going to actually bring out one. And of course, it would be in my favorite quad. So we're going to try Voyeuristic Vixen. We're going to go for this shade here. And not quite the same. So, yeah. Believe it or not, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be to find dupes. But I will admit, like, you can get the same vibe, right? So you can get enough shades from all your different palettes and you can get the same vibe, but you're not going to exactly dupe the shades. All right. And some of the best dupes are from her discontinued palettes. So that's the other thing. But hopefully these swatches were helpful. Now let's give my overall conclusion of what I think of this launch. So let's stick first with the eyeshadow quad. All right, so as you know, this matte really drew me in because as you can see, it's not often that she does purple mattes. And a lot of her purple mattes are from palettes that are discontinued. It performed well. I love this tonal purple. It's pigmented. It blended well. I love it. If you watch carefully my demo, I try to point out there was a lot of kickback. That's like the one thing that I noticed. I was able to clean off my palette easily. I'm okay with it because all I care about is how, in the end, the eyeshadow performs. But for those people who really care, there is a lot of kickback on this shade. But the shade is gorgeous, and you're not going to find too many of those shades in her palettes. You always have a good skin show shade, and this is kind of similar to any skin show shade that you'll find in any of your palettes. So the quality is on that same par. Okay. This shade, you know, is my favorite shimmer. You saw it just, what? That shimmers. This shade is gorgeous. This one to me is a little bit of a letdown. It's pretty, it's cute. It just doesn't shine bright like this one. I'm still fine with this quad, but I understand with 4 shades, you're going to want all 4 to be hitting hard. Some people might actually appreciate the softer shimmers. Pat and Natasha does it too. They always have in their palettes, they'll have a really punchy shimmer and then a shimmer that's a little bit more toned down. Because there's times that you might want to tone down. There's certain people who don't want always a high impact shimmer. So, it's just a difference of those two. But overall, packaging is good. I get the pink is not for everyone. I'm not a big Barbie girl either. And I understand if you feel the color pink can make the packaging look cheap, even though the quality of the packaging is just as good. But if you do the exact same packaging, but in black and white, it will look luxe, it will look classy. You do it in this Barbie pink, and then all of a sudden you feel like things look cheap or, doesn't look classy anymore. So, but I don't mind having one of these. I have so many quads, and it's kind of nice to have a different color than black. So I don't mind having one pink one. Like I wouldn't want all her quads to be this shade, but I don't mind having one in this pink shade. But it's still the sturdy quality that we're used to. So I still actually like it. Okay, and now the color Balm. Same thing with packaging. Pink is not going to be everybody's favorite, and pink can make packaging look cheap. But like I said, it's fun to have a one-off pink shade, I think, just for fun. Compared to the OG, the highlighter Balm Duo, I haven't gotten their recent ones, but I got the original ones way back. Compared to those ones were a little bit more weighty. Like this is very light. This is super light. There's not like weight to it or anything like that. I don't know how the new highlighter duos feel because I only have the original ones. But anyway, let's actually talk about the actual formula. So as I discussed extensively, this is a balm and not a cream. So you just have to be aware that it is not going to be as pigmented as a Danessa Myricks cream blush. It's not going to dry matte like her blush either. This is going to be pigmented to a degree, but it's still going to sheer out and it gives a natural flush of color. It will stay a little bit tacky. I don't feel like it's overly juicy, but there's going to be still a little bit of tack. Now you can take a powder blush, like today I use the Gucci blush, and go over it, and that actually takes down a lot of the tackiness. There'll be still a tiny bit of tack, but very minimal. It's just a different vibe. I'm not mad at having this because sometimes it's beautiful to have that natural flush, but that might not be everybody's cup of tea. I have dry skin. I don't know what it's going to be like for those who have oily skin. I don't know if everything's going to fall off your face or what's going to happen to you guys. So I can't tell you in terms of your skin tone. And then I just want to also end by saying the importance of having the appropriate brush and application process. Because the other thing too is I don't take this and just swipe directly on my skin. And if you actually watch Pat McGrath's lives on IG, she doesn't either. What they do is what I do. Take the brush and then do a stippling action. I'm not wiping like this. I'm just stippling. It blends itself. It did not take off my foundation. My base stayed laid. So the brush that I love to use for my cream and balm blushes is from Say. It's a fantastic brush. I'm not saying you have to have this one, but this is just my go-to fave. So I just stipple, and it's just beautiful. So I think if you have the right blush and the right application technique, you're straight. If it's too glowy for you, you powder it with a blush, it will set it in place, but you'll still get the glow to still shine through. So it's just more of a personal preference if you like a balm blush or not. So I hope this was helpful. in making your decision. Like I said, I understand the blush, this form of blush is not going to be for everybody. And I also respect that not everybody's going to want the quad. If they feel like it's too much same of the pink and that one purple shade does not redeem it. What might ease your pain as you're trying to decide is a discount. I encourage all of you to use, if you watch Kinky Sweat, she's the one who got me obsessed with Pat McGrath. And if you see if I ever show you my Pat McGrath collection, oh my Lord, and it's all due to her. She has given us the best reviews of Pat McGrath. You know, I've been watching her since like the pandemic started. And so Pat gave her a discount code, Alicia20. Go use it, get you 20% off, support her. She deserves it. You know, all the effort that she has put in to explaining, promoting Pat's makeup, she deserves it. And obviously having a 20% off eases the pain of, you know, the costs and, you know, is it worth it, and the dupes and all that good stuff. All right. So once again, hope this video was helpful, and I will see you next time. Mwah. Bye.